name, how it's spelled, and then I guess your title, whatever you feel comfortable, like whatever you want, like below your picture on screen, basically.
Like representative of CDC tips from former smokers campaign, or is that
Yeah, that'd
pretty
be
long?
wonderful.
Or
Yep.
okay.
And then so, what's how do you spell your first and last name, and how do you pronounce them?
My name is Michael Patterson, Michaelpatterson.
So, where are you from originally?
I'm from Juneau, Alaska.
So, how did you get involved in like the CDC campaign?
Well, I got involved with the CDC campaign because, I almost died from smoking. I was looking for an avenue to be able to get out there and talk to people about the dangers of it. And so I ran across the Alaska Tobacco Control Alliance, and I joined that as hopes of being a media platform for me to reach out to other people. And one of them sent me a link that CDC was looking for someone to become part of their next Tips from Former Smokers campaign, and said something about anyone that was selected would be paid $3,000 to shoot the commercial. And so I looked at that, and I didn't want to do it because I was afraid that I was setting myself up for disappointment. I didn't want to torment myself in a sense because the odds were 1,000,000 to 1. And as far as I was concerned, they were never going to select me. So I would look at it every once in a while and kind of dream in a sense. But after 3 or 4 months of doing that, something inside me just said, you need to fill this out. And so I just sat down, filled out the application at that point, and they started asking me questions, and I replied to them. They asked me more questions, and I figured I'd speed up the process. I gave them my phone number. It started ringing off the wall, and in the end, they kind of got around and they asked me, so you say you're Alaska Native? And I said, yes. And they said, are you an Indian from Alaska? And I said, yes, I'm a Tlingit Indian of Southeast Alaska. And they said, oh, good, I got to hang up on you right now. I'm going to run and tell the producers right away, and we'll get back with you. And so, they took off, and that was, at the beginning of the interviews that I was doing with them, and it was like the lady that was talking to me would explain, well, you need to set yourself up and prepare if they don't pick you, and that made sense, and so when I sat down to try to do it, I couldn't do it. It was like, every time I tried to do it, something inside said, no, no, not possible. They have to pick me. They have to let me do this. It was kind of startling because it was easy for me to accept disappointment. I faced disappointment my whole life. And to sit down and say that, you know, you might, this might not happen for you was so easy. And I've always been able to do it. But when it came to this, I couldn't find a way to do it. It's just, I felt like I was born to do this. This is my time. No one's going to do it with the fire and determination and the heart and the drive, that I feel in this. It's like all of my existence, every fiber in my being right now is dying to do this, and when they finally called me and said, you have been selected, I just sat down and cried. I was overwhelmed. I mean, I had a huge sense of relief, just flood over me. And, you know, it's even hard to believe that I'm doing this now. I mean, it's so big. It reaches out to so many people. It can do so much good, and I'm living my dream right now. I mean, there's nothing I want more than to reach out there and wake somebody up, and save them from the terror and the horror that I've had to face in this disease that I have to deal with.
So, what do you feel that like you can contribute to the anti-tobacco kind of discussion, or not so much, I guess, anti-tobacco, but just like encouraging people to take control of their health, their lives, and push forward and try and quit.
Well, in my way of dealing with a lot of people, for one, I can share the terror involved, with COPD, and there hasn't been a lot of awareness about COPD. Most people focus on cancer, and cancer is always, way down the road, and a lot of people look at it that way. I don't have to worry about it now because that's way down the road. Well, COPD rises up out of the middle, out of nowhere, and it can be so much more hideous and painful than cancer in a lot of ways, and so by sharing that, the realization of that terror, um, that's just the beginning of it. The other parts of it are like, people believe that smoking is a stress reliever, and they believe that because they condition themselves to believe it. In reality, it's not a stress reliever, it's a defocuser. And what you're doing is you're taking that stress and you're putting it in a bank, basically. And in the end, you put so much stress in that bank it can't contain anymore, and it bursts on you. And when it does, then you're left with a flood of terror that you're not going to be able to withstand. And also just, I've learned things in life that are real stress relievers. By somebody just simply telling me once that I needed to learn the secret of mind over matter. If I didn't mind, it didn't matter. It sounded funny at first, but if you really think about it, I realized that I was so sick inside, so angry, because everything mattered too much. And I realized I needed to find a way, to minimize that and put it in a real perspective, and I've done that, and so I'm living with terror today. I've been given a death sentence, and I'm running with it, and I'm not allowing myself to be depressed or super sad about it. I'm taking a lot of joy in being able to bring a message to somebody and hopefully wake them up. And everybody that wakes up and quits this horrible addiction, they've just enriched my life beyond measure, and so I'm finding a lot of rewards in what I'm doing now, and there's a lot of other things that I can share with people as far as, how to deal with life in life's terms, and how to make better choices, because life's all about choices, and it doesn't matter what somebody has done to you in your life. It all boils down to the choices that you make in regards to that. You can take pain and process it right, and it becomes compassion and empathy and love, or you can take it and process it wrong, and it becomes anger, bitterness, and rage and depression. I mean, it all boils down to choices, and I've learned to make good choices, and so it's not about just telling people to quit smoking. It's about equipping them, with ways of dealing with life so that they don't feel a need to relieve stress that way.
So, if you could, like, recommend some things for people who are trying to quit smoking, is there anything that you found can help people kind of overcome this addiction, whether it's, meditation or, yoga or, taking walks outside, or, what would you, like, give as, like, a example that somebody could do?